Hi and welcome back to my channel. So I'm super excited about today's coaching video because this is a topic that I was talking to somebody about recently. Not and I realized that this is something that we all go through, whether you really think about it or not, or you want to admit it or not. We all go through this. So today's topic is how to deal with disappointments. So I want to give you some tips and things that I came up with on how we can deal with disappointment. So number one, let it out. Let it out. You need to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling without any need to speed up your process of getting past whatever it is that's disappointed you. Whatever you're feeling, it's okay. Take some time to just sit with your emotions and experience it without moving to fix or change it. Genuinely experience these emotions. No matter how painful, no matter how painful it is, you've got to feel these emotions, and one of the things I cannot stand, y'all, is when disappointment happens and someone says, girl, you need to get over that was last week, that was 2 days ago. No, stop telling people to get over their disappointments. Now, if you are still down in the dumps about something that disappointed you 20 years ago, yeah, that may be a problem. But give yourself some time to deal with the disappointment and get over it in your time. Don't let anybody tell you that you need to get over it in their time, because it's not about them, it's about you. Get over it in your time. Number two, get some perspective. Once you've gotten over whatever it is that disappointed you, it becomes much easier to get some perspective, right? And after you give yourself space to feel, you're able to give the situation or the individuals involved more room to breathe. Because here's the thing, maybe the person who you feel disappointed you doesn't realize that they've done so. Maybe they're stressed out and they don't have the emotional ability to think about it because they aren't allowing themselves time to experience their emotions. So I think we do, and this is a hard pill to swallow, y'all, but sometimes we do have to be careful about jumping on people when they disappoint us, because again, they may not know that they have disappointed us, because maybe there's something else going on in their life. So you be careful how you approach that, because you just never know what's going on. Having a broader perspective than your own view on a particular situation is always helpful. The critical point here is that you have to mean it. You have to mean it. Let me say that again. You have to mean it. Don't just say it just for the sake of saying it. You got to mean that from your heart and soul. Rushing into gaining perspective before you've allowed yourself to be with how you feel will be artificial, and it won't last. You know how people will say, I'm not mad, and the body language, the facial expressions, all of that is telling you yes they are. So give yourself some time to get some perspective on what has happened to you, and then sit down and have a conversation. Now, I have to admit, before I move on, I have to admit that I am that kind of person, or was that kind of person, I should say, when someone disappointed me and I didn't say anything. I kept it to myself. I was upset. I was pissed. And every time I saw them, I wanted to just shake them. You know what I'm saying? And then it dawned on me that, Michelle, you're upset, but you haven't even let them know how you feel about it. So I realized I couldn't let them know how I felt about it because I didn't have perspective on what just happened. You know what I'm saying? And then I could have gone and sat down and said, hey, Judy, I was a little disappointed because you were supposed to do X, Y, Z and you didn't do it. And as a result, something else happened that shouldn't have happened. So get some perspective. Number three, know your own heart. This is so important. Knowing your own heart and your values gives you the freedom of choice. You can choose to be driven by what happens to you, or you can choose to live in line with your principles. Okay? So know your own heart. Number four, practice acceptance. This step is a lifelong challenge and fundamental to dealing with disappointment, right? You will be disappointed and you will disappoint other people. Let me say that one more time. You will be disappointed in life. And yes, you will disappoint other people. And even as I'm saying this right now, somebody listening to me has recently disappointed somebody. Somebody will disappoint someone later on today, tomorrow, next week, the following week, a few months from now, the end of the year, next year. You see what I'm saying? This is a never-ending cycle. We're either being disappointed or we're just disappointing someone else, right? But at the end of the day, it will pass. That is the key. This is the takeaway of everything I shared with you today. Disappointment will pass. So just know that no matter how bad it feels, it will pass. Disappointment is a part of life, but all parts of life can help us grow. We can be present and aware even in the midst of negative emotions and therefore live more fully. Now, here's your bonus, because y'all know I love to give bonuses, right? So, the way you respond makes all the difference in the world. And let me say that one more time. The way you respond makes all the difference in the world. What do you mean by that, Michelle? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, when I say the way you respond makes all the difference in the world, it really does. You know, when life happens, we can choose to be mean towards other people. We can be nasty. We can be negative. Or we can choose to look at it as a learning experience, learn from it, get some perspective, know our own hearts, and just move on. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And I know you might be saying, but Michelle, it's not quite that simple. And in the grand scheme of things, no, it really is not quite that simple all the time. However, you have the choice. I know people right now that are still walking around with disappointment, anger, hurt in their hearts. And I mean deep in their heart, because somebody did something or said something or didn't do something or didn't say something. And, you know, I let people talk. I do. I let people talk. And, you know, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, this happened like eons ago and you still walking around mad. But the person that wronged you, you know, they said they're sorry and they moved on with life. They're enjoying life. You're the one that's still caught up with what happened. So I said all that to say the way you respond makes all the difference in the world. You know, we all have been through, well, maybe not all of us, but the majority of us have all been through a breakup, right? And it hurts. It does. It hurts a lot, especially when you've invested a lot of time and energy into building a relationship and that relationship doesn't work out. It can hurt. But the way you respond makes all the difference in the world. If you can hold your head up and you can say, hey, you know what, I did all that I could do to try to be the best person that I can or could for that individual, and they chose to walk away, fine, let them go. You know, that helps you to get perspective about not only who you are but who they are also. You know what I'm saying? And then you're able to just move on and go on with life. Now, I'm not saying jump into another relationship, but I'm just saying, because you're able to get perspective about how things happen, why things happen, you're able to now just move on, hold your head up, hold your chest up, and keep it moving with life. So, let's recap. How do you deal with disappointments? Number one, you let it out. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to roll in the floor, roll in the floor. If you need to whine on a friend's shoulder, if you need to go and pig out over one meal, you get one, not a whole bunch, you get one meal. Do that. Let it out. If you need to go out in your backyard and you need to scream to the top of your lungs, do that. Let it out. Then number two, you want to get some perspective. Get perspective on you but also get perspective on the other person, because they may not realize that they've disappointed you. And that happens quite often, believe it or not. So get some perspective. Then you want to know your own heart, right? Because you can be driven by what happens to you, or you can choose to live in line with your principles. And number 4, you can practice acceptance. Accepting that you are going to disappoint people, and just like they're going to disappoint you. Accept that, right? And then your bonus is the way you respond makes all the difference in the world. And I promise you, if you utilize these tips, you will be able to deal with disappointment so much better. And I'll be honest with you, I can honestly say that even before I started doing some research for today's topic, I have found that I have used quite a few of those steps. I ain't gonna lie and say I use them all, because I haven't, but I've used quite a few of them. Let's say 1 or 2. And the older I get, the better I get with dealing with disappointment. I just do. Because like I said, I get perspective, and then I can move on from it. So I hope this video has helped someone. Thank you so much for giving me just a little bit of your time. As always, I love you guys so much. And I look forward to seeing you in our next coaching video. Until then, take care.